Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good
How's
morning.
everybody doing?
Good morning.
So who feels resilient?
Good morning.
Good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about resilience, and I'm going to focus it on the buyer experience and some things that I see as coming as a hopeful positive, and maybe it's even a refresh for all of us and our careers, whether you're 6 weeks or 32 years in the business. You know, I want to add some value, and I want to reimagine how things are going to work. All right, so I'm gonna talk a little bit more off of my scripted sheet here. But I'm not going to torture you with looking at it. So resilience, the definition of resilience is the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties or change. So do you think that's a skill that we need in this business now more than ever, perhaps? Anybody? I mean, we go through, we have, you know, technology change, consumer shifts. We have people, you know, people's expectations being different in a more virtual world. And I think we need to, you know, be able to accelerate our ability to capitalize on change. Careers and fortunes are made by opportunities, and those who pivot to gain market share and capitalize on the turmoil and confusion. Okay, so you think a lot of our competition is looking forward to this change, or you think some of our peers are a little bit concerned or afraid, uncertain, or intimidated? Like, which adjectives you think more aptly suit the industry?
Afraid. Conserved and confused.
I mean, I think people are mummified. Freaking out is a good one. People are terrorized.
There's a reason why I didn't do it, and it's not why you think.
They're scared.
It's because I didn't want this person, Matt Smith, to find me on Instagram. I didn't want them.
Here we go. Yeah. So if you start talking, if you can mute it so that you don't interrupt. So our industry is freaking out, I think, is the best word that I would use. And if you went to the doctor and they were freaking out, how confident would you feel about staying there?
I would run.
You would run, right? If you're serving clients, if you're a team leader, if you're a manager, a lender, now is not the time to be fearful. Now is the time to embrace the change. Fortunes are made during turmoil. Most of the wealthiest people in the world make their money on downturns, on the winters of their business.
Very true.
So we are now in a situation where, you know, we can be with the herd and you know, be, you know, we can be in the camp of a lot of people are, oh, well, you know, it's business as usual. Nothing's really changing here, right? Somewhat of a denial phase. You could be in the freaking out or ignorant phase, or you could be in the opportunistic phase. Okay, somebody's concerned about the unknown. Well, Linda, you're here because we're going to break down the unknown and we're going to make this better. And I'm not just saying that we're going to make it better, but I'm confident that we're going to make it better. Okay, this is an opportunity for us to revisit the process from the foundation up. Repeat that. We're going to revisit our whole industry from the foundation up. And I have all this stuff on the slides, or excuse me, on the attachment there. So hopefully you can get used to opening it and probably, reading it and internalizing it. First step is a buyer's appointment, improved and reimagined. Okay. And what I mean by that is, what was a buyer's appointment 3 months ago? Who wants to share with me? How did you meet your first buyer, 3 months ago?
Well, buyers are now used to calling an agent and scheduling an appointment. Some agents say, okay, I'll meet you at that property, shows them the property, and then tries to establish a relationship. Where I think with the change that we're facing, you have to, I don't think with the change we're going to be making, you can just meet a buyer off, off a phone call and show them property, because you have to set them down and say, well, these are the rules.
Right. If you were in the business 25 years ago, almost every buyer would come meet you in the office and you would sit with them. You'd go over what was available. Maybe 25 years ago, we had computer printouts. Maybe we didn't. I think we did have the computer printouts. We would have properties that we were ready to share with them. We would talk about how we're going to go tour around. If you go back in time, you probably even had one of those big yellow maps to learn how to get from place to place, because I don't think we had maps on our phones yet.
That's when I started. We had maps. People would come to the office, and I think we're going back to that.
But the technology has made the business a lot better. The consumers are a lot more educated at this point. But I will say that the transactions have not become easier from technology, but they've become more complex. There's more rules. There's more people with, sometimes a little bit of knowledge is worse than, not having any knowledge at all, right? It gives them a false sense of security. So that was 25, 30 years ago. Maybe it was 20 years ago. People would come in, we'd run sheets off the MLS. We would show them maybe one picture. We would talk about, where they are. We'd talk a little bit about what they were looking to accomplish. Then we would, usually back then, we would even drive them in our car, right, Rosa? You're on mute.
Yeah, back then we would set up the appointment at the office and drive them. Nowadays we don't put anybody else, anybody in our car because of the liability.
Yep. So the business has changed. So I'm going to suggest that we completely reimagine the process from here. We forget what happened then. We forget what happened 3 months ago. And here's my vision of where we go. Showing a home and meeting a buyer for the first time has now changed forever. And I chose those words strategically. I don't want you to make a small change. I don't want you to wish that we were going back to where we were. It's changed forever in a positive way. Showing preparation. Okay. We don't just meet them at a house. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Okay. You generally don't go to a listing appointment without preparing, correct? You go to a listing appointment, you have all your facts and figures, your confidence, your mindset, and you're singularly focused on getting a listing agreement signed, right? Our buyers' opportunities now change to that. Skill and proper preparation is not just, doing a CMA for a listing, in the reverse for a buyer, but proper preparation involves skill set preparation. Okay. Local market knowledge, recent local and national trends, because you know what? If somebody is moving from Florida to New Jersey, and they're looking to buy a house in New Jersey, and they see that inventory is building up in Florida, and it maybe took them 2 to 3 months to sell their house and they're getting some lowball offers. Then you go into New Jersey where inventory is down. We need to know these things, right? Because real estate is specifically a local business, okay? And us knowing it and us communicating it to the consumer are two different things as well. We can't assume that they know any longer. Product knowledge. Now, if you went to a car dealership and you wanted to buy the latest version of your BMW, how confident would you be if you're asking the salesperson questions about, oh, how does that work? How does this work? How is this year's model different from, the 3-year-old model I'm turning in? You expect them to know all of the information there. It's got 7 computers, a V6 engine, it's got, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm not a car person. I don't pretend to be, but you'd want them to know about that product. Now we need to invest a little bit more and know more about homes that we're selling, construction types, mechanical systems, local issues, if there's a new community being built that's going to compete with it, downtown access, highways, transportation options. I remember years ago, when consumers would come from out of town, you would talk to them about, the convenience of the highways and all of these type of things that I think for many of us, and if it's not you, I apologize, have left that skill behind. You're buying in Florida, there's lots of unique issues. A lot of your buyers in Florida are coming from out of state. They don't know what a wind impact study is. They don't necessarily know about, some of the insurance issues that are happening. HOA fees, special assessments, reserves. Different parts of the country have environmental issues like radon, lead paint, hard water, termites, flooding, noise from airports, highways, things of that nature. This is all part of the preparation that we might assume that we think they know, but they may not. And I think, let's see. I think I see Daryl there, and like maybe Gail. When I was in Vero Beach, I learned that a lot of the houses that had copper piping had to be replumbed because something in the water was ruining the copper connections. Like that is uniquely for that particular area, and we need to be specialists on that. Everybody agree or anybody disagree and say like everybody knows and we should just open the door?
No, you're right. You have to know a lot about the electrical, the plumbing, the grate piping, the aluminum wiring. There's a lot of things that you have to educate the buyer on, especially if you know the area that they're looking to buy in. But that comes with experience. Most of us are all experienced, and we kind of know that. Yeah, you have to follow the procedures of explaining to your buyers and educating them on what they're going to see, depending on, of course, the price range and all that. But
right, and then the next category here is something that I think is huge. I don't really know of anybody that has done a complete job or a complete explanation or complete education to consumers on housing and financial literacy. Okay, maybe we talk about the tax benefit, we talk about building, equity, but I don't know that anybody I've seen, including myself, has put the whole package together. Okay, the word financial literacy is what comes to mind for me. And I know a lot of us on this call are not, we're not financial people. Okay, but I think if that's not our thing, that's not our passion, we need to hand off this part to somebody who's passionate about sharing the impact of buying a home, financial literacy, the wealth effect. It's not just shelter, right? Buying a home it's amazing in this country, and I'm going to share and educate you all with some information I think you may not know, and maybe I assume that we all know. But how many countries, I don't know if there's 500 or 600 or maybe more countries in the world. How many countries do you think offer a mortgage for a term of 15 or 30 years that's fixed for the entire term?
Just the US, apparently.
Yeah, we're the only country that does that. Anybody on the call that used to live in Canada or overseas bought a house in a different country? Because no other country that I know of, and I did some research, offers a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And on top of that, you know, Jeff, we have no prepayment penalty.
Aren't most of the other options overseas balloon payments?
Most of them are balloons, or they have to be renegotiated like a commercial mortgage.
Yeah.
Well, so think about like the impact that is massive, right? That if you have somebody from a different country, like, you need to be sharing this is the greatest thing. I mean, this is way better than sliced bread. You can get a mortgage fixed for 30 years. And guess what, Joel? If the rates drop, what are we going to do? We're going to refinance it.
Yep, you're going to refinance it.
Okay. I give our industry, and I'm part of the industry, so I'm raising my hand for saying I'm part of the problem. But we don't do a good job at addressing financial literacy. And I'd like to think it's not an intentional, I'd like to think that the country doesn't focus on financial literacy for ill reasons, like, you know, banks want to keep us in debt and make interest on credit cards and whatnot. I want to not believe that. I want to just believe that, you know, we kind of overlook this piece. But this is one of the biggest opportunities for us to educate our clients to make the right decision. Okay. And now we're forced to sit down. We're forced to be able to differentiate ourselves from our competition. And who thinks that this would be a good way to differentiate ourselves, whether it's me or one of my partners, not just showing them you can qualify for this mortgage and this is what the payment is, but to talk about the wealth effect and the financial literacy component to buying a house. Anybody excited about this, or am I just like the oddball here that's looking at this and saying it's been right before us, but we never saw it, and it took a turmoil, right? It took a market disruption to get me to think outside the box.
Rob, this is Karma. Honestly, for me, I like it a lot because I'm a lister. I go there, I prepare for all my seller. I know I'm going to get the listing. And I remember a long time ago when we used to meet in the office and share all the information and what we can do for them, what's the advantage. We have, for me, I have much, much better than now that just meeting somebody on the street, don't know who I am, don't know the information value that I can offer for him. Now, it's an opportunity to tell them who I am, how I can help them out. No pressure, no obligation, and no commitment. Right now, I am inviting all the people they came for an open house or one-on-one chat about actually the new law coming up. No obligation or no cost. I'll update you, say what will happen with this meetings.
Right. So I am not, you know, look at it's not going to change for me. It's not going to change for you. I am not telling you I'm optimistic about this because it's happening regardless of my opinion. I am, and maybe the change is not fundamentally, you know, positive for us. I'm not sure. I mean, there might be some fringe cases where it doesn't help us. But what I think it did, what the gift it gave me was it forced me to revisit the value proposition and to up our game with our consumers. Okay. Consumers must understand, and I put in all caps, must understand their options. The combined effect of leverage, compound interest, amortization, and tax consequences. Okay, we assume that, you know, hey, you know, Ron, the payment's $3,400 a month, your rent is $32,000, you get to have a write-off. Like, yeah, that's all great, but they don't really understand it. And, you know, of the 103 people on this call, you know, there might be a majority of people that only understand the first or the second level of that. And some people may never want to understand it, and other people may want to understand it personally, but aren't going to be in a position to teach it. And that's why we have our financial partners that can do that for us. Okay. And if you're working with, our great team, Cornerstone First, Matt Sora or Motto, that's great. But if you're not, have your other lenders up their game so that we can provide a better value opportunity for the consumers. And it all comes down from, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care, right? And if you care, you're not going to skip this step.
But I think also, Rob, a lot of other brokers don't want agents to talk about the finance part because they say that's not your job, because you may guide them differently. But I disagree with that. I always disclose I'm not a lender. I'm not in finance. However, this is what I know, and this is what and I will share the experiences that my clients have had. And job shadowing with lenders is always a good thing. So don't be afraid to talk about it, but disclose, you're not a lender, for them to confirm. A lot of brokers reprimand you if you talk about it, which is, I think this is a great discussion.
So Ned, out of the 104 people on this call, maybe there's 14, maybe there's 24, maybe there's only 4 people that really want to get that deep in the weeds to understand how to present it. And to be honest with you, I'm not so sure that I want to be the one that as an agent presents all that material, but I sure as hell want to be able to understand it from the lens of a consumer. Okay.
Exactly.
Because if they come to me and they say, you know what, Netta, Joelle was mentioning something to me, I'm not really sure about it. Right. And if you give a blank stare like you never saw it before, it's not a good look. Okay. It shows that you didn't care enough to prepare. And there are some people that maybe want to go into the weeds with it, and maybe you want to have that conversation at a high level with your consumer, with a lender of choice in the room. But I think more so than ever, we need to have partners that educate at the second and third level, right? Not just bedrooms, baths, and school systems. Okay.
I'll never forget. When I first started with Coldwell Banker, I asked someone who was in the business for 25 years. I asked her a very simple loan question, just a very simple one. She should have known. Now that I know, she said, "Oh, I don't know. You have to ask the lender." She didn't know how to answer that question. I mean, at least you have to have a base knowledge of it. I feel you're right.
Okay. So, Netta, some of these things might be, a little bit of minutia, but they matter, right? Like if we're now providing more value than ever, I would like to go to you, Netta, and say, Netta, you're in, let's just pretend you're in the school system and your husband's a police officer, right? And on average, you get raises of 4 or 5%, right? If I was to say, hey, Netta, let's talk about your priorities and your wealth building of using your home to do that. And if I was able to construct a plan where you were comfortable and you can pay your mortgage off in 22 years, would that be of interest to you, right?
Absolutely. You're showing me your value, your knowledge. Yeah.
Right. Because, and Joelle, I don't know that this product exists, and I just see you because of this screen effect. So I'm not picking on you, but Joelle, if a consumer asks you, how much extra would I have to start prepaying if, after 4 years when I get my big bump because I get tenured, I get a big raise, how much would I have to pay to be able to knock 8 years off of my mortgage? Right. You can calculate that and give it to them, and that's a tremendous value add, right?
Absolutely.
And you can even calculate $150 a month for 17 years is going to cost you $42,000, but you're going to save $229,000 over the term of your loan. Would that be of value to you? And you know what, Joelle, as a benefit, you can call me anytime if you want to look at accelerating that. I can tell you how much quicker you can become debt free.
Yeah. And actually, that does come up a lot when a client is, unfortunately, a lot of people are using their credit cards, they're running that up. So I am seeing a lot of refinances happen right now. But a lot of the big question is, oh, I don't want to go back to a 30-year term. Well, okay, you're not always going to be in this position. You are now saving yourself significant amount of money monthly. All you have to do is maybe take $200 of that, apply it to principal every single month. Now you're back on track to 17 years. It goes a long way. And you know what? You're saving $96,000 in interest.
And Joe, I'm going to tell you something that you're going to find shocking, and you might even fall off your chair. Okay. But if somebody goes to their accountant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this might be you, they'll say, oh, don't pay off your mortgage because that's your only tax write-off, right?
Yeah.
Would it be reasonable for an accountant to tell you that, right? It's one of the few tax benefits you have here to get your money back. Now, it's completely true, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe an accountant has a hard time justifying their existence. If you have no write-offs, you don't need them, and yeah, you don't get the write-off, but now you own your house free and clear. Like, those are benefits that maybe an accountant is not even the right person to answer that, because I know my accountant wants to get me a tax refund, find ways. Oh, we got mortgage interest here, and Rob, don't pay that mortgage off because then you'll lose your tax write-off. But there's different layers, and I really feel I want to go deep with buyers, and this is going to be a buyer appointment second to none. Literally, there are no competitors that I believe that are doing this in our marketplace on the entire East Coast. We can go Alaska to the Keys. I don't think anybody's going in this far. Educate, like, now that we know that we're the only country that we're aware of that has a 30-year fixed rate option to finance a house plus no prepayment penalty, we need to tell people this is like an insane benefit. Like, we just take it for granted, right? It's a hugely insane benefit. Okay. Another thing that I want to share is now is the time for us to maybe go on some of our peers' showing appointments with them to see what they do differently and see how you can add value to the experience. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I did put a lot of thought into this, but there's definitely things that we can all learn from our peers. Understand their Ford, that's not a car, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. It's the emotional motivation for making a move, right? Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. I think lender and first-time buyer credits, like, that probably goes under the financial literacy piece. Now that we've gotten the mindset done, right, we've built a strong foundation. Simple things like, hey, I'm going to read this because, believe it or not, some of us need to hear it. Dress appropriately and be ready for a professional meeting. Plan to be there early. If you're running late, call them. If you can arrive 5 minutes early, don't sit in your car. Open up the house. You're not worried about whether or not the lockbox is going to have an issue. Open up the house, turn the lights on, walk through it, make some mental notes of features that you can share with your client. Okay. I think a lot of people are just opening the door together. If they're there, they're waiting for them in the car before they get there. But make the effort. Go there, open it up, turn the lights on, take a walk through, see if you see anything beforehand. You'll not only look to be a more knowledgeable professional, but you will be. Okay.
Rob, just to take that one step further, what I used to do was, if I had a group of houses I was going to be showing to a client, a couple of days before the showing, I would drive the whole route. First of all, to make sure that I knew where I was going. And I would go in to view each one of the houses and have that preparation that you're talking about, so that I could start talking to them at that time, we drove in the cars together. But even if you meet them at the car, you can start talking to them about the high points of the house because you've already seen it. So,
Right.
But adding, I'm sorry, I have to say this, adding to that, Rob, I love, because I always do a dry run.
Right.
So that dry run allows me to say to my client after I showed the first house, the second house, guys, you just have to make a right here and it's right around the corner, you know, so it's as if I know the entire area. It's a beautiful thing, that dry run.
Right. And there's nothing more embarrassing than if somebody says, oh, well, you know, I know that there were 2 other homes that sold here, you know, one of, you know, and you're not aware of that. You're like, oh, shit, don't know about that. Right. So do your homework. I mean, this is, you know, this is potentially a lot of money that we're going to get paid for doing this service. Okay. And, you know, if we do it well, we're going to have a much higher conversion rate from meetings to closings. Okay, because they're never going to want to work with anybody else. They're going to see the value and they're going to, you know, climb Mount Everest to go work with Robert and Netta because you're making a difference. Nobody's ever done that before for them. Okay. Our industry, the good market created bad habits. The good market was there was almost no houses. So when one was available, we would just rush in there, do no preparation, show them the house and say, pay 50,000 more, you don't get it. Right. And how much of an appraisal, like that was our language. Now the market's changing. This is a gift for us. Okay. It's a gift for us to differentiate ourselves. You know, meet, greet, shake hands and smile. Okay. And tell them to not share confidential information that may show their hand while touring a home because there may be video recordings, right? If you don't have that like a checklist on as a pilot does, right? You're going to skip a step and then you're going to jeopardize the leverage, or you're going to jeopardize the transaction for your client. Okay. This is hugely important. You know, make an effort to smile, like even write it down, you know, meet, greet, shake hands, smile, and tell them, hey, before we walk towards the ring doorbell, let's say, don't share any confidential information, whether you love it or don't love it, until after we exit the property. Does anybody, I'm sure most of you do that, but that's like really good common sense, right? Bring printed itinerary of what you're going to be, what you're showing them. You might even want to bring a printed comparison spreadsheet to rank homes. So if there's 6 homes that you're showing, maybe put down like what's most important to them and let them rank those homes as they walk through them. It's just an idea. Understand the days on market pricing history. You should probably look up what the owner paid for it, right? If you walk into a home, you say, hey, you know, this owner bought this house 7.5 years ago. They paid $410,000. It looks like they put an addition on. They're asking $900 now. Just wanted you to have that information. As a buyer, would that be something of value for us? Point out positives, negatives, and options to improve. You know, I think a lot of our team, we probably do a really good job at this. But if we think about it, maybe we can even do a better job at it. You know, many of us, we know the inventory. We might say, hey, you know, a lot of these homes here in Mountain Lakes, what they did is they took this wall out, they opened up the kitchen. This is most likely not a load-bearing beam, and, you know, it could look like this one here, and we even show them that house. I've seen so many of you do that, and I'm so proud of that. But I think we need to be conscious and think about, you know, those things all the time when we're introducing clients to homes. You know, busy streets, power lines, days on markets, you know, even the sale to ask price. Now, I see, Robert, you have your mic is on. So are there parts of New Jersey that you're aware of where agents notoriously underprice homes, and other areas where they try to price them more in line with what they're expected to sell for?
Yes.
So if somebody was looking in Mountain Lakes, where homes probably sell, you know, 2 to 5% above or below the asking price, and then they go to Montclair or Glenridge. What usually happens in those markets, Robert?
So those markets are notorious for underpricing the houses and really pushing for huge upticks through bidding wars.
I mean, just because and these are counties that are contiguous, they're right next to each other, but the way that agents transact in Montclair and Glenridge, it is not uncommon. And Robert, you can shake your head for a $800,000 house to sell for 200 or 250 over asking price, correct?
Correct.
Now, how often does that happen in Mountain Lakes?
Not a lot.
Because agents price them, the pricing strategy is different. And I think we owe it to our consumers to share with them, like, you know, in this area, homes are selling at, 104% of ask, 98 to 104%. Average days on market is 9. And in this market here, homes sell for 115 to 119% of asking price when they sell in the first 7 days. Like, I would want to know that as a customer, right? And I would even adjust the criteria and the prices I show them.
And you know, one of the really important things to consider too is the current market conditions and how that plays on the price. You know, when you mentioned before about this is what the seller paid for the house 7 years ago, it kind of begs the question, well, what was the market like 7 years ago as compared to today? And that's just one more step in the preparation process that, we've been talking about today. The more that you show, the more they're going to work with you. And here's just one last thing, because this is the one that caught me once, and I was really embarrassed, was how far is it to the school bus stop? Well, I had no clue, but that was the only time that I had no clue.
So, and Robert, like, I think it would be probably onerous preparation to know that for every particular home. However, if when you do your buyer consultation, your meeting, you find out that that's something that's extremely important to them,
right?
Then you have a duty. I'm gonna go far to say you have a fiduciary duty to look up to that before you show them any house. Say, well, this one is 4 blocks from the bus stop, but this one here, the bus literally stops in front of your house. It's like a concierge. That might add value, right?
Sure.
So, and this is great. I mean, I really appreciate you all contributing to this. And when I said go on a peer showing appointment, we have so much talent, and don't be ashamed and say, hey, I'm helping out with showing this house today for you, right? And you're picking up what somebody else does, and they're picking up what you do. Because, I've been asked a lot of times to go on listing appointments with team members and peers of yours. And some of them have, such tremendous talent that, I'm supposed to be the teacher, but I'm learning, right? So I'm doing both. Okay. I'm reading how they engage with people. When you go on a listing opportunity, a listing appointment, a lot of times you're selling to two different personalities, 2 different mindsets. And sometimes it's almost like an argument's going to strike out in front of you, and you have to be able to be the one that mediates that and gets everybody on the same page. I don't know if Danielle Coyle's on, like, big shout out to her. I was on an appointment, and like the husband wanted to sell in 3 weeks, and the wife is like, oh my God, that's so fast. We've been here for 30 years. Danielle, are you on? All right, well, big shout out to her, because she
That's the
handled
difference between a professional door opener and a realtor, to be honest.
I mean, she handled that with such, like, I can't tell you, such professionalism. She de-escalated the situation, right? And I couldn't even come close to that, because that was something that, I wasn't accustomed to. Like, they were both on, I'm like, you guys live together? Did you discuss this first? So, after exiting the home, let's see. So we're going to point out all the information after exiting the home, and everybody, please print this out. You can copy it and make changes to it, whatever. If you have a team, I think you should go over it with all your team members. If you don't have a team, maybe internalize it. And even if you're the best buyer's agent ever, I guarantee there's 1 to 3 things here that you can add to improve your value proposition. After exiting the home, ask a short list of confidential questions. Say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what do you think about the home, right? A lot of times they might say, oh, it's okay. Does anybody ever get that it's okay type of answer where you're like, all right, that doesn't really help me? So how about if we just go a little deeper and say, hey, if you're going to rate this from 1 to 10, and this is the part that I love, with a 5 being offer territory, right? That we were thinking about making an offer, where would you rate it? Now, and then if they say, oh, well, this one's kind of like a 2, you might want to find out why it's 2, and then you say, okay, I'll never show you homes like this in the future. To me, that just adds value. And you might say to yourself, I'm not going to show it to them, but if you tell them that, I think it completes the relationship, right? Objections are gifts. Okay, if there were no objections and this business was easy, what do you think our commission rate would be? So Robert, if there were no objections and this was super easy, do you think we'd get paid more or less?
Less.
We'd get paid a lot less, right?
Yeah.
A confused consumer always says no. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So we have to, the more we educate our consumer, the more value we're putting into the relationship bank, and the more confident they're going to be to move forward with something. And it's not like we're going to try to sell them something that they don't want, because if we go back to nobody cares what they know until they know that you care, that means a lot. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you can pretend to care. That doesn't work, right? So people know if you care, and it's like binary. You either do or you don't. I hate to say it that way. You don't a little bit care. You either care about it or you don't. And if you care about your commission more than your client, you're probably going to be exposed, and you're probably not going to be as successful as you otherwise could be. Take that for what you will. You might say, I don't believe it. I'm a great actor or actress. I don't believe it. This is good too. It's like a checklist for an airplane. I know, Jeff, are you still on? Jeff?
Yeah, I'm here.
So Jeff, good to see you in your new office. Great to see you yesterday. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
How many years were you flying commercial airlines?
Well, for the airlines, about 33 years total.
So would you consider yourself to be like a aviation expert?
Absolutely.
With 33 years experience, do you still go through a checklist before you take off as a pilot?
We have a checklist for every phase. We run about 4 checklists before we even start taxiing to the runway, before we push off the gate.
Not 4 items, but 4 complete lists, correct?
That's correct. And you don't go to the next step until that list is complete. If you can't complete an item, you stop.
So look at, this is something that we should learn from the airline industry, because how many commercial airliners have crashed in the last decade in the US? I don't think there's any, right?
No, not a whole lot. They've had some problems. Boeing's had some problems, but none have crashed.
Right, none have crashed, and there's like probably millions of flights and hundreds of millions of people that have flown, and no plane went down. And the reason why that is because even though Jeff has 33 years experience and he's an aviation expert, he still follows the checklist. Okay. And I'm going to beg you to have a checklist, whether it's written or mental, and follow the procedures, because every customer deserves to get the best out of you. And if you don't have a checklist and a procedure, you will skip steps, and you will deny some customers some of the value that you're able to, and I think you're fiduciarily required to deliver to them. All right. All the prep and choreography helps differentiate our value proposition. And that might be when you walk into the room, you go to the corner so that they can see the room, and they don't see you in the room. They see their family in the room. It could be, you ask the same questions at the same time all the time because you want to make sure that you don't forget things. It really eliminates randomness and inconsistency. Consumers will notice this. Be sure to deliver an experience that stands out from the crowd. Run the plays that work. Okay. We are more than just simply opening the door, and I know that I know everybody on this call knows this, and knowing it and doing it are two different things. Okay. Knowing it and teaching it are different things. Okay. So just as, and it's just, so it's an analogy I didn't prepare to have, but, I'm looking at a brilliant aviation expert that even after 33 years still follows that checklist. And why don't we do that? We need to follow the checklist. We need to deliver consistency so that we don't leave anybody behind. We don't skip steps or forget about stuff. I'm going to take a minute and see if Renee or anybody on the lending side has anything to talk about to update us on new products. Anybody want to pipe in today?
Hi, yeah, good morning. I mean, I could definitely chime in.
I'll give you the mortgage minute here.
The mortgage minute. Well, good morning. Most of you may or may not already know who I am, but I am Joelle. I service the Montclair, Guttenberg, and Closter offices in New Jersey. So the hot topic, rates. Where are rates and where are they going? I mean, unfortunately, we continue to see extreme volatility. And why is that? Every time the Fed opens their mouth, they're not consistent. So just last week, Fed Chair Powell said a rate hike is not likely. However, in the same breath, he said that a rate cut is not likely in the near future either until the Fed sees inflation move sustainably lower to 2%. So really, I mean, everyone's talking about a rate decrease, a rate cut, and well, when's that going to happen? Not near term. So, but however, the bond market did like what the Fed said, and we actually did see improvement. We also seen another additional increase in rate improvement by the less than stellar jobs report last Friday. So great news, some improvement. However, we still are in a rate environment where rates are hovering at 7%, which, has a huge impact on sellers and also buyers. Really just, wanted to say really quick, how can we combat this market with higher interest rates? Few things that all mortgage professionals should actually be doing. Let's check to see if they qualify for an income restriction program or a down payment assistance program. These do come with significantly lower rates. Also too, let's explore, does it make sense to buy the rate down by paying points? You'd be surprised. In some cases, it does make sense. So that shouldn't be off the table. Also too, reviewing PMI options. I am personally seeing a lot of buyers that are putting less than 20% down. So when you're putting the less than 20% down, what do you have? You have PMI. It's an additional payment. A lot of people aren't aware that you can actually buy that PMI out in one lump sum, whether you buy it out at the closing table or you finance it in. That actually does save the borrower money monthly and actually could potentially increase their buying power. Everyone right now is putting themselves at their highest buying power. They're maxed out, can't even go an inch higher. So every little thing that we can take a look at to get that payment lowered so that you can maximize that, we're looking at. Also too, credit improvement. What can we do to improve the credit score to yield a lower interest rate? A really quick success story. Just last week, I had a borrower who was at 719, obviously below the 740 top tier rates are, you have to have a 740 or higher. At the 719, we were able to increase his credit score to 741, put him right above that threshold. With increasing that credit score, by only removing him from an authorized user account that boosted his score, yielded him a lower interest rate of a quarter, and put $75 per month back in his pocket. So right now, I mean, the unknown is rates, piggybacking on what Rob was saying, the unknown are rates. How can we be creative to help more buyers qualify? 4 simple things every professional should be doing right now. So, you know, I'm here to help. If any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of Renee's team members.
So Joel, I'm gonna just say one thing for our relationship with our lenders. The consumer normally doesn't want to go deep with the lender until they find the house, but I think that's a huge mistake. And maybe the word is, you know, before I take you out and show you homes, Joel, I want to stage you as a buyer. And they're gonna be like, well, what does staging as a buyer mean? Well, that means if there's a way that I can get you a better interest rate and it takes me 3 weeks to get it done, let's start working on that today if you're committed to buying, right? And let's take the uncertainty out of the process, right? Because even if they kind of know that they can qualify, but if they've looked at the numbers a month before, they're going to either feel more comfortable doing it or they're going to withdraw from the process because they've been educated.
Yeah.
Okay, I see no downside to that. And I think the industry has maybe done a pre-qual, right? Which is they don't really want to go too deep. Then they wait until they find the house. And then all of a sudden it's a Chinese fire drill.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the system can be improved by changing the sequence of those activities. And it's all in the light of providing a better experience for the consumer. Okay, more confidence and better experience.
Yeah, and also too, educating them on how to improve the credit, how to improve their buying power. So I mean, there's just 4, you know, it's not many steps to do, but and I find the buyers are, you know, they're very thankful for, you know, me going over that with them, because then now they feel stronger, they feel more educated, they're confident, you know, heading out with the agent. They know their numbers. They know that, you know, maybe their taxes can't be more than $10,000 and this is where they need to stay. So, you know, definitely getting that all out in the front, that's key.
Right. And you know, there's a lot of different things that if people have time, you know, from back in the days when I was a lender, you know, I would say, hey, you know, if you had a bigger down payment, then you can meet this objective, or, you know, sometimes they allow non-occupant co-buyers to have different ratios that will help out a little bit. But if you don't share that, then it's never in their head. So they don't have that option. And I think that's not being the complete professional that we hold ourselves out to be and that our clients deserve to get. But Joel, thank you for,
and also too, exploring a different property type, you know, maybe a 2-family that helps with income, that helps, you know, with their buying power as well. I mean, you don't have to be pigeonholed in a 1-family home, you know, a lot of people have that interest in a multi-unit.
So, you know, and even if it's, you know, sometimes, you know, it's a qualification, then it's an affordability issue, right? A lot of times when people go to rent their first apartment, right, they find a roommate, right? You know, if you go to buy your first house, maybe, you know, you have a friend that can rent a room from you. There's just a lot of different things that might be able to offset some of the challenges of the housing shortage and the recent rise in interest rates.
Yeah.
But homeownership is still, you know, it's not just about, you know, a 2% interest rate. It's about, you know, building wealth. It's about changing who you are. Like, you're a renter, you're a homeowner. That's like our identity, right? You're 40 times wealthier as a homeowner on average than a renter. I believe in it. I'm going to just go through the rest of my my thoughts that I did. Avoid randomness. Be interested in local and national trends. There's a you can put in your newsletters if you want, or lenders. There's a site called Mortgage News Daily, which kind of dumbs down where the interest rates are going. It can show you the trends. We can talk about inventory, increasing and decreasing in certain areas, the impact of inflation. Is everybody aware of inflation, right? I mean, I think it's pretty much a big topic, right? But you know who inflation benefits? Benefits asset holders. Because as assets go up in value, the more leveraged you are, the better inflation is for us. When you own assets and you're leveraged, inflation is your friend. Some shortage in the industry that I see is maybe going to be a next level on, home systems and home construction. I don't want anyone to be a pseudo home inspector. Okay, I don't want you to be outside of your pay grade. But I do think we should have a better understanding of, different types of construction, mechanical systems, things that are changing. Maybe, what we might want to do is, most states have like a home show where you get to see the new products that are coming out. You can be educated on new trends, right? Go to the home inspection once or twice, not to be the expert and guide your person, but just to be a fly on the wall and hear what type of concerns are most relevant today. Because things that if you were going on home inspections 20 years ago, things are different that they look for now than they did 20 years ago. Okay, and 5 years from now, there will probably be different things that they're looking for and that are issues. So let's be worth 5% as a buyer's rep, even if we're only charging 2, 2.5, 3, whatever our fee that we negotiate is. Let's be delivering twice that value. Let's avoid mental distractions and be unyielding in our determination and focus. Eliminate the noise. There's a lot of things that go on that can distract people. Anybody have somebody in the office that, oh, did you see that the NAR Settlement implementation has been delayed a month? Or did you see that the buyer lawsuits is filing an opposition to the settlement that's going on, right? There's always some noise. And how much money do we make on that noise? And how do we serve our clients when we're paying attention to all that, day-to-day, minute-to-minute noise? We don't. Let's put a high priority on keeping ourselves grounded and focused on things that we can impact and how we can help people in all aspects of what we're doing. Stay out of politics. Don't be worried about interest rates, recessions, inventory shortages, inventory surpluses. In parts of Florida, we're seeing inventory build up, right? 2 years ago, we're like, oh my God, it would be great if inventory was building up, right? Now there are some markets where we're like, oh my God, there's too much inventory. We need buyers, right? Let's embrace what we have, because the only thing that's for certain is things will change. And if we embrace the change, we'll always be on top and succeed. Okay. Inventory shortages, inventory surpluses, it doesn't matter. We're the person that makes the market. Okay. We help buyers and sellers connect and complete very complex transactions. And, we pride ourselves on making complex transactions simple to the consumer. Now, before we lose everybody, I want to wish all the moms a happy Mother's Day, right? Take some time off, enjoy. And I hope, as your humble servant, this provided some level of value and it wasn't, a blinding flash of the obvious, because I see we have some new people, we have experienced people, we have team leaders. Let me just mute. Is anybody have any takeaways from here that you want to share with the group, especially if you've been doing this for a long time?
Rob, the Gopi team, how you doing?
I'm great.
We just want to say that no broker, no owner in any brokerage takes the time to give such good input advice to the agents, and we really appreciate you. A lot of things from the call we definitely take away Francis just closed a big deal.
Congratulations. Thank you for using our partners.
Yeah, lots of good tips.
Hey, without him, I couldn't do it.
Exactly.
Without my team, I wouldn't be able to do it.
So we just wanted to tell you we appreciate you, Rob. Truly.
We appreciate you too.
Oh, thank you.
I
And
mean-
positive too.
And to all my peers, because every piece of knowledge, we put it together like a
Rob, you guys are the best. And Frank from Modern Mortgage is the best. too.
100%.
So, no, I appreciate that. And like, I hope, Michael, even you with, being experienced, I think I see you learning and light bulbs going off, because you're relearning things by, educating your team, and it's making you personally better. And it's this cycle where you then can be a better resource for your growing team. I just think it's amazing.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Any other takeaways from this? Like, hopefully I can make, buyer presentation and exciting content and provide some sources of value for, people that have high success rates and tremendous amounts of experience. Any other ones before we wrap it up?
Hey,
Go ahead.
Rob, I have a question for you. So last week we talked about the possibility of creating, I guess, a chart for what the home prices have been over historic home prices over the last 2 to 3 decades. I think that would help. I know would help me, and I'm sure probably other agents as well, because there's still a lot of buyers that feel that, oh, the housing prices are too high. I'm going to wait for prices to go down. And I continuously keep telling people that, home prices historically just continue to rise, and they're not going down. I mean, there might be some slight adjustment in 1 or 2 markets, but there's always a reason for that. But it's not because home prices are overpriced and they need to be lowered.
So, Mickey, I subscribe to a thing called BAMX, and I believe they have some charts. I'm reworking our hub site, and I'm looking to put, videos on our hub site that if you're curious and you want to go there, and I've vetted some, podcasts and videos that you can look at, listen to, and watch. Because truth be told, a lot of the content that I have here is from me listening to others and then just formulating my own opinion on how I can deliver more value, reimagining the process. And I think having exposure to, different voices helps us to grow as an individual, a team, and an industry. And yes, I feel like I keep kicking the can down the road, but Mickey, it's a high priority. I want to put together a buyer appointment template that you can customize, and that's coming down the pike very soon. And I just keep getting more content to build into it. And this financial literacy piece is not meant to insult anybody looking to buy a house, but I really believe that the financial literacy level in our industry, as well as in the buyers, is subpar. And it's not a dig on anybody, but it's just a call to improve ourselves and to upgrade our skills. And this will help people make decisions whether they want to buy, sooner or later, right? I mean, sooner in the process so we don't waste time. Because if somebody has all the information, they've been completely educated, and they decide that they don't want to do it today rather than going out with us for 3 months, who wins in that situation? The consumer and us, right? We don't seek any value from being a tour guide and educating people that have no intent to buy. And, I know it's great to make commission, and I know it's necessary for, living our lives, but that emotional juice from helping somebody change their life, should be equivalent to the money that we're putting in the bank at the end of that transaction. Okay, because I don't think one happens without the other. Like, we get paid for the value that we deliver. Now we need to first look at how we deliver that value, how we package it, and then the abundance will come after the fact. So, yeah, I mean, Frank, like, and Frank and lenders, like, there's so many ways that you guys can, like, you can do 3 hours of ways that they could help us. But, you know, all we need to do is find those lenders that are going to do more than just quote the rate and issue a pre-qualification. They're going to be part of the education process and delivering more value to the consumers. Okay, this is both fundamental and both like revolutionary at the same time, because, you know, please don't ever forget that an aviation expert with 30 plus years of experience follows 4 checklists before he leaves the gate. And if we're not following checklists and we don't have a process when we're selling a house, you know, we're going to expect random results. We're going to expect ups and downs. We're going to expect to get freaked out. We're going to expect some consumers are going to reject us because we skipped some steps in the case. And then they went and bought a $2 million house from our competitor. And, you know, don't blame the buyer, blame us, right? I mean, I truly believe, you know, Frank, that smile that you had when you're talking about, you know, helping your client, and Michael, you know, the contagiousness of that smile from Frank, from seeing him succeed, that's contagious to the consumers. A pleasing personality is contagious and it's free. Okay. So look, I hope that this, you know, provided you with some confidence. It helped you, and have a productive weekend, serve your clients. And I'm going to keep doing what I can to help serve all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Rob. See you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.